Have you ever walked into a room full of your own blood relatives, and felt completely invisible? Like every achievement you bled for, every sacrifice you made for your country, every star you earned on your shoulder, none of it mattered to the people who were supposed to love you most? For 30 years, that was my reality. My family didn't just ignore me. They actively erased me. Cropped me out of photos. Left my name off invitations. Whispered behind champagne flutes that I was the family embarrassment who wasted her life playing soldier. But on one unforgettable evening, at my nephew's wedding, everything changed with a single, razor-sharp salute that cut through the noise like a bugle call. The groom, my nephew, the young captain whose life I once pulled from the jaws of death, locked eyes with me across a crowded ballroom, came to attention, and rendered a salute so perfect it silenced the entire room. "Lieutenant General Brooks, ma'am." In that moment, every erased year came roaring back into focus. My name is Catherine Brooks. I am a lieutenant general in the United States Army. I have commanded thousands of soldiers in combat zones across the globe. I have carried the weight of life and death decisions on my shoulders since I was younger than most of you listening right now. This is my story. The full, unfiltered truth of rejection, resilience, and the kind of valor that doesn't need permission to shine. Stay with me, because what happens when the invisible finally demands to be seen will stay with you long after this ends. Let's go all the way back to the beginning, because you can't understand that salute without understanding the decades of silence that came before it. I grew up in Marietta, Georgia, just north of Atlanta, in a brick colonial house with magnolia trees in the front yard and a pool in the back. From the street, we were the ideal Southern family. Dad, William Brooks, was a partner at one of the biggest law firms in the city. Sharp suits, sharper mind, the kind of man who could make a judge lean his way with one raised eyebrow. Mom, Margaret, was the ultimate hostess, garden club president, junior league chairwoman, the woman who could set a table for 20 with heirloom china and make it look effortless. Then came my younger sister, Madeline. 5 years younger, born with sunshine in her smile and a knack for being exactly what our parents wanted. Blonde, petite, cheerleader, debutante, valedictorian. She collected trophies the way other kids collected baseball cards. And me? Catherine. The tall, serious one with scraped knees and a buzz cut I gave myself at 12 because long hair got in the way when I was building forts. I spent weekends at the library reading about D-Day, Patton, and the Battle of the Bulge. My hero wasn't a pop star, it was my maternal grandfather, Captain Thomas Riley, who served in Vietnam with the 1st Cavalry Division. He lived with us after Grandma passed, and on quiet evenings he'd sit on the back porch cleaning his old boots while telling me stories, not the gory ones, but the ones about brotherhood, about never leaving a fallen comrade. When I was 16, he gave me his faded green compass from 1968. "Direction isn't just north and south, Katie girl," he said. "It's knowing who you are when everything else is chaos." I still carry that compass. College decision time came. Dad laid out brochures for Vanderbilt, Duke, Emory Law. "You'll clerk for a Supreme Court justice one day," he declared. Mom dreamed of sorority formals and society weddings. I dropped the bomb at Sunday dinner after church. "I'm not going to college right away. I'm enlisting in the Army." The silence was deafening. Dad's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. Mom's eyes filled instantly. Madeline actually laughed out loud, then covered it with a cough. Dad recovered first. "Enlisting? As in private?" "Catherine, we don't come from enlisted stock. Officers, maybe, but..." "I'll earn my commission," I said quietly. "You're throwing your life away," he thundered. "The military is for people with no options." Mom sobbed into her napkin. "What will people say?" Madeline smirked. "At least now I won't have competition for Mom and Dad's attention." That was the moment the eraser first touched paper. But I didn't enlist to rebel. I enlisted because the first time I heard the national anthem at a high school football game and saw the flag snap in the wind, something deep inside me stood at attention. I knew where I belonged. Basic training at Fort Benning, Georgia, summer 1996. 110 degrees, red clay mud, drill sergeants who could peel paint with their voices. I loved every brutal minute. Push-ups until my arms shook, ruck marches that blistered my feet, nights in the barracks writing letters home that went unanswered. I graduated first in my platoon, distinguished honor graduate. Went straight to officer candidate school at Fort Benning again. Commissioned as a second lieutenant in military intelligence, then switched to logistics because I wanted to be where the fight was real. First deployment, Iraq, 2003. Operation Iraqi Freedom. I was 25, leading a platoon moving fuel and ammo through convoys that got hit almost daily. My first firefight was outside Najaf, RPGs, small arms, dust so thick you couldn't see 10 feet. One of my trucks took a direct hit. I ran through fire to pull my driver out, Specialist Lee, 19 years old, screaming. Got him to the medics. He lived. I earned my first Bronze Star with V device that day. Sent the citation home. It went into the same drawer as my OCS diploma. Promotions came steadily. Captain at 28. Major at 33. Lieutenant Colonel commanding a battalion in Afghanistan, 2011 to 2012. Helmand Province, some of the heaviest fighting of the war. Lost 8 soldiers under my command that tour. I wrote every letter to their families myself. Still visit their graves when I can. Every homecoming, the pattern repeated. Family gatherings where Dad bragged about Madeline's perfect life, her marriage to Dr. Evan Caldwell, plastic surgeon to Atlanta's elite, their 6,000 square foot house in Buckhead, her twin daughters and son Jonathan, all straight-A private school kids. When someone asked about me, Mom would say, "Oh, Catherine's still in the army. Overseas again, I think." As if I were backpacking Europe instead of leading soldiers in combat. Christmas 2014. I flew home on emergency leave after a mortar attack that left me with shrapnel in my leg and a Purple Heart. Walked into the house on crutches. Dad glanced up from his newspaper. "You look thin. Army not feeding you?" No questions about the attack. No pride in the medal. Madeline hugged me carefully, like I might be contagious. "We're doing family photos tomorrow for the Christmas card. Formal attire. Your uniform might not match." I wore civilian clothes for the photo. "They still cropped me out," said the lighting was bad on my side. But there was one person who never erased me, Jonathan. From the time he was 4, he was my shadow whenever I came home. "Aunt Cat. Show me how to salute." He'd stand in front of the hallway mirror for hours practicing. I'd tell him age-appropriate stories, about riding in helicopters, about the camaraderie, about how soldiers take care of each other. When he was 12, I took him to Fort Benning for a family day. Let him climb on tanks, try on Kevlar. His eyes were saucers. That night he whispered, "I want to be like you when I grow up." Madeline overheard and lost her mind. "Over my dead body will my son join the military and ruin his life like you did." But seeds were planted. Jonathan turned 18 in 2016. Came to me in secret while home on college break. "Aunt Cat, I enlisted." Delayed entry. Shipping to basic after graduation. I hugged him hard. "It's the hardest thing you'll ever love. Be ready." He thrived. Infantry. Airborne School. Ranger tab by 21. I pulled no strings, made sure of it. Then fate put him in my division for a 2018 to 2019 deployment to Syria, fighting ISIS remnants. I was a full colonel then, brigade commander. Jonathan was a newly promoted captain leading a platoon in my task force. One night outside Raqqa, his convoy hit a complex ambush, IEDs, machine guns, RPGs. 3 vehicles disabled. Jonathan wounded, pinned down with half his platoon. I launched the quick reaction force myself. Flew in on Black Hawks, landed hot. Led the ground element personally, something colonels rarely do, but I wasn't leaving my soldiers, blood or not. Bullets snapped past as we fought block by block to reach them. I found Jonathan behind an overturned MRAP, bleeding from his shoulder and leg, still directing fire. I tied tourniquets with my own hands, dragged him to the casualty collection point while return fire cracked overhead. We extracted everyone. No fatalities that night. In the field hospital, he gripped my hand. "You came for us." "Always," I said. He earned a Silver Star. I got my first star, Brigadier General, partly on that deployment success. Fast forward to 2024. I'm a 2-star, Major General, commanding the 1st Sustainment Command at Fort Liberty. Jonathan's engaged to Emma Harper, a 3rd-grade teacher with a heart as big as her smile. Engagement photos all over social media, Jonathan in civilian tux, Emma glowing. I comment congratulations. No invitation follows. Weeks later, cousin Diane texts me a screenshot of the wedding website. Guest list, 250 names. Mine absent. I call Madeline. "It's very intimate," she says sweetly. "Immediate family only." Dad felt the uniform might make some of our older guests uncomfortable. "You understand." I understand perfectly. But then my phone lights up, a text from Jonathan. "Aunt Kat, please come. I need you there. Here's the date, venue, everything. You'll always have a place with me." Attached, 2 images. Original seating chart, my name at the head table next to him and Emma. Second image, same chart, my name viciously crossed out in red ink, initials MB beside it. I stare at those photos for a long time. Part of me wants to stay home. Let them have their perfect, curated day without the awkward soldier aunt. But the larger part, the part forged in 30 years of service, refuses to be erased one more time. I RSVP directly to the venue coordinator. And I decide exactly what I will wear. The wedding day, perfect low-country spring weather. Live oaks draped in Spanish moss, the historic Boone Hall plantation outside Charleston transformed into a fairy tale. White tents, thousands of flowers, string quartet playing pachelbel. I arrive in full army dress blue uniform. Medals polished to mirrors. 2 silver stars gleaming on my shoulders. White gloves, cover tucked under my arm. Heads turn as I walk across the gravel drive. Whispers follow me like smoke. I take the only empty seat, in the very back row. The printed program lists family of the groom, William and Margaret Brooks, Madeline and Evan Caldwell, siblings Claire and Caroline. No mention of Catherine. The ceremony is beautiful. Emma walks down the aisle radiating joy. Jonathan stands tall, surprisingly, in his own dress blues, medals shining. I didn't know he'd chosen uniform. Our eyes meet across the crowd. He smiles, small and conspiratorial. Vows exchanged. Rings. Kiss. Applause. Reception in the Cotton Dock Ballroom, crystal chandeliers, jazz band, oyster bar, champagne flowing. I keep a low profile at first, standing near a pillar. But voices carry. Dad at the bar, holding court, yes, that woman in uniform back there is my older daughter. Still in the army after all these years. I think she's a captain or major, something like that. Such a disappointment. Madeline nearby, laughing with cousins, we tried to keep the guest list curated. Some aesthetics just don't blend with black tie. I feel the old ache rise, but I breathe through it. I've faced worse than cruel words. Dinner served. Toasts begin. Best man, Jonathan's ranger buddy, funny stories about training mishaps. Maid of honor, Emma's sister, tears and laughter. Father of the groom. Dad takes the mic, voice booming. He talks about Jonathan's perfect childhood, perfect grades, how he almost made a terrible mistake joining the military but thankfully saw the light, and will separate soon to join the family law firm. Lengthy praise for Madeline's parenting. No mention of the aunt who taught Jonathan to salute at age 4. Madeline's turn, sobbing about her perfect boy growing up. Then Jonathan stands. Taps his glass gently. The room falls silent. He looks directly at me. Before we cut the cake, there's one person who should have been introduced hours ago. One person without whom none of us would be safe to celebrate tonight. One person who taught me what leadership, courage, and family really mean. He turns fully toward me, comes to perfect attention, and renders a salute that would pass any parade inspection. Family, friends, distinguished guests, allow me to present Lieutenant General Catherine Brooks, United States Army. The salute holds. His voice rings clear, "Ma'am." You could hear ice melting in glasses. Gasps ripple. Phones come out. Camera flashes. I rise slowly, return the salute with equal precision, then walk forward down the center aisle. Every step deliberate. Medals chiming softly. I reach the head table. Jonathan drops the salute, pulls me into a fierce embrace. Emma hugs me next, tears in her eyes. We fought for you to be up here from day one. The photographer scrambles to rearrange. Suddenly I'm center in every shot with the bride and groom. Dad stands frozen, face gray, champagne glass trembling. Madeline looks like she's swallowed a lemon. Later, during dancing, veterans and active duty guests I've never met approach one by one. Thank you for your service, ma'am. Heard about Raqqa, honored to meet you. Young lieutenants asking for mentorship advice. A 3-star I know from the Pentagon happens to be there, old friend of the Caldwell family. He shakes my hand warmly in front of Dad. Catherine, congratulations on the nomination for 3rd star. Well deserved. Dad hears it. His eyes widen, he genuinely didn't know. He approaches once, haltingly. Catherine, we didn't realize you'd made, General. Lieutenant General? I meet his gaze steadily. You never asked, Dad. Not once in 30 years. He has nothing to say. Walks away. The night ends with Jonathan and Emma seeing me off at my car. Jonathan salutes again, this time informally, with a grin. Thank you for coming, Aunt Cat. For everything. I return it. Hua, Captain. Proud of you. Months later, the ripples continue. Jonathan sends a framed wedding photo, the 3 of us, me in center, stars shining. Inscription, Valor is earned, never given. My niece Claire, Madeline's younger daughter, 19, calls me out of the blue. Aunt Cat, watching you that night. I want that strength. I enlisted yesterday. Madeline is apoplectic, but Claire is an adult. Her choice. Family dynamics shift slowly. Holiday invitations now include, and guest, uniform welcome. Awkward conversations where Dad asks tentative questions about my career. No real apologies, some wounds don't heal with words, but presence. Acknowledgement. I never demanded it. Never raised my voice that night. Valor doesn't need volume. Because here's what I've learned in 3 decades of service. True family isn't defined by guest lists or photo crops. It's defined by who shows up when the world is on fire. Who risks everything for the person next to them. Who carries the mission forward no matter the cost. My legacy isn't in a southern mansion or society pages. It's in the soldiers who call me ma'am with respect. In the young officers I mentor who will lead tomorrow. In Jonathan's salute that spoke louder than any toast. And in knowing that when my country needed me, I answered, every single time. No eraser can touch that. So if you're listening and you've ever felt erased, by family, by society, by doubt, hear this. Your valor matters. Your path matters. Show up in your truth, in your uniform, whatever that uniform is. Because one day, the right person will see you clearly and render the salute you've earned all along.